So with us now from Miami is CBS News senior political editor Steve Chaggaris, and joining us on set is Washington Post opinion columnist Catherine Rampell. Catherine, let's start with Steve first. We'll get right to you right after. Our Major Garrett, Steve, is reporting that some of Marco Rubio's closest allies are discussing whether he should drop out before Florida votes on Tuesday. Now, as you know, Rubio got creamed last night. What do you make of this?
Yeah, well, the Rubio folks are insisting, the campaign is insisting that Rubio's not considering this. The campaign says that they haven't had any of these conversations, but there are people around Rubio who are raising concerns. They look at what's happened last night, they look at what happened on Saturday, and he really got demolished in these primaries and caucuses. He got no delegates coming out of last night. And they look ahead to Florida, and all the polls show Rubio down. The questions that they have to raise are, one, is he really setting himself up to lose in the state that he's currently representing in the Senate? What does this mean for his political future? And should he be jeopardizing his political future by putting that on the line? Now, the Rubio campaign says, again, they're not considering this. They figure if they give up now, then they're handing the nomination to Donald Trump. And they're also very confident that they're going to win Florida. So they say they're staying in this.
I want to ask you the same question. You know, Catherine, there has been some talk about his long-term political goals. Some people have talked about whether or not he maybe wants to run for governor, and the way things are going, if he loses in Florida,
is it too humiliating?
That. Yeah. So what do you make of all this chatter?
So to play a devil's advocate for a second, on the one hand, you could argue that he's actually doing his party a favor if, to the extent that he stays in the election and you have proportionate states, Florida is not one of those states, but if you have proportionate states, he makes it easier to have a brokered convention come this summer.
Steal some delegates from Trump.
If he steals some delegates, if he keeps Trump from getting an outright majority, then that could be good for the party. Maybe that'll help enhance his image. I mean, I'm not sure how convinced I am by my own argument, I should say, but that's potentially one reason why even some of the establishment guys who have no faith that he'll actually win might convince him to stay.
Catherine, you wrote an interesting op-ed in the Washington Post, and I'm going to ask Steve to also react to it. And you essentially argue that a couple of things that Republicans are saying to derail Donald Trump are not really, they're in lockstep with him. The policies, that he's not a true conservative, that he's vulgar, all these things have been in part.
Yeah, they're throwing spaghetti at the wall to see what sticks, and nothing is sticking basically at this point. Particularly since it's really hard to attack him on the vulgarities when Marco Rubio.
He started that.
Marco Rubio started the little hands meme, if you will. He got right down in the gutter with Donald Trump. On policy, they're very similar in a way that people I think don't necessarily recognize. Nothing seems to be sticking. In my view, the one thing that Republican elites could do that could potentially really just shatter the confidence of Republican-based voters would be to say, Donald Trump is so bad that he's worse even than Hillary Clinton.
Wow.
So this hashtag Never Trump thing, nobody really buys it because in the last Republican debate, the candidates all said that they would pledge to support Trump if Trump were the nominee.
Which is, that is astounding to me that they would go on the attack right now, and then should he become the nominee, say, well, we're just going to go with this guy.
And the implication being that, okay, we really don't like Trump, but he's not so intolerable that Hillary Clinton would be better. But that's really what they need to come out and say.
That's the atomic option, right? So
Steve,
let's ask Steve, and whether you think there's anything they can do this late in the game at all.
The anti-Trump people?
Yeah,
I think that there's very little they can do. They're hoping that Kasich can win in Ohio, and they're hoping that Rubio can win in Florida, two winner-take-all states that really would hurt Trump in terms of getting enough delegates. But to the point that you were just discussing about comparing Trump to Clinton, I think that's what you're seeing Cruz do. It's very interesting. Cruz's attacks on Trump have been a lot more surgical than Rubio's, and I think that they're landing a little bit better. If you look at the debates and how Cruz has gone after Trump, he's talking specifically about Trump and Trump's weaknesses, but then pivoting back to Cruz and to himself and saying, here's what I'm telling you. I'm a true conservative. I can beat Hillary Clinton. I'm not Hillary Clinton. And what all Rubio was doing was really just sort of insulting Trump. And I think Cruz has done a little bit better job of offering Republican voters an option as opposed to just saying, don't vote for Trump. He's saying, don't vote for Trump, and here's why you should vote for me.